So I've got some bad news. I filmed an entire post-Craftsman Truck Series race video under the impression that Parker Kligerman had just gotten his 4th career Truck Series win. He's sort of semi-retired, part-time team. Great story. Kligerman said on the front stretch, maybe the biggest win of his career. I filmed the whole video only to come into the media center, start editing, and find out that the 75 truck failed post-race inspection, too low, disqualified. That means Corey Heim, who crossed the line 2nd for the 2nd consecutive year, actually gets credited with the win, his first ever Daytona victory. It was so awkward, man. Kligerman left the media center with a bottle of whiskey ready to celebrate, and a few moments later they trot Corey Heim in, and honestly, he didn't even sound that excited. He was just sort of like, oh, ho-hum, okay, another trophy, fine.
It's my first time having this kind of scenario happen either way, so certainly glad to be on the right side of it. Sucks for Parker and those guys. They seem like they're obviously supposed to put themselves in position at the right time to win the race, but yeah, just grateful to be in the spot to I guess take advantage of that, and huge props to everyone at Shotgun Garage Toyota, and safe flight, first win under the Toyota Geyser Racing banner, which is cool. So move on to Atlanta, try to get another one.
You'll hear more from Corey Heim and some of the other top finishers here in a moment, but yeah, I just wanted to begin this video with this disclaimer. Everything you're about to watch over the next 6, 7, 8 minutes or so was recorded before the DQ. So some of the finishing positions, a few of the numbers may be incorrect. Gotta feel bad for Parker Kligerman, man. His last 2 losses have been about as brutal as they come. NASCAR waiting an hour to throw the caution at the Xfinity race at the Roval last fall, lost on the ensuing restart. And then tonight, gosh, his excitement, his enthusiasm on the front stretch was so fun to watch. Such an easy guy to root for. Back-to-back heartbreaking ways to lose a race. Gotta feel for Parker Kligerman, man. I still don't quite believe it. Anyway, yeah, now enjoy the rest of this video that, again, I recorded before the disqualification. It still feels a little awkward. Gonna keep things short and sweet tonight. I had the chance to speak to several of the top finishers. You'll hear from them in just a moment. First, I've got a few takeaways. Number 1, what did they do to turn 4? Did they grease it overnight? Early on in this race, Caden Honeycutt leading the inside lane, gets loose, then gets turned by Chandler Smith, spins into the inside wall, crashes hard. Just a few laps later, Tony Breidinger, beginning her first full-time Craftsman Truck Series season, she slips and hits the inside wall, albeit a bit softer. Then later on in this race, Clay Greenfield slips and, crash hard into that inside safer barrier. I think I can still hear the jet dryers cleaning that area. Turn 4 was extremely treacherous as the trucks came down off that banking, a little lighter in the rear. Easy to slip, easy to slide. We've seen that in the past. We also saw some big hits on the back straightaway. Rajah Caruth got spun out of line, hit that wall hard, beginning his 2nd full-time Truck Series season. I think there are high expectations for Rajah. He's a good kid, student of the sport, has endorsements from HendrickCars.com, Ally. Those are major sponsors associated with a pretty major NASCAR Cup Series team. I'm not saying Rajah Caruth is destined for the Cup Series in the immediate future, but he's certainly a young prospect with a ton of potential that's going to get looks. Got his first win last year early at Las Vegas. Can he build on that in year 2? An unfortunate start to his sophomore season tonight. Corey Heim finished 2nd for the 2nd straight year here at Daytona, but he was this close to ending up on a wrecker. Laps winding down, Heim is in the 3rd far outside lane. The front row trucks bearing down on him, gets a huge push, huge wiggle in the middle of the turn, but held on to it and actually kept his momentum going down the backstretch. Corey shared his reaction on pit road after the race.
I thought it was wrecked. I literally had my wheel 180 degrees to the right, one hand on it, because I had steered so far that I couldn't even have 2 hands on the wheel. So that was scary. Chandler was pretty aggressive with the pushes. It's not surprising, but somehow we made it through and ended up 2nd. So proud of Shotgun Garage, safe flight, Toyota.
I know y'all think I got a man crush here. I'm always singing Corey Heim's praises, but there's a reason for it. He's just obviously the most talented driver in the Craftsman Truck Series. He just is, man. I hope he keeps getting opportunities at the next level because he's ready for it. He is ready for that shot, man. Second takeaway, Gio Ruggiero. I believe this was his first career Truck Series start. It didn't look like it. He looked comfortable up there in that JBL Toyota Tundra. Leading laps, laps, actually blocking multiple lanes, looked like a super speedway veteran, in my opinion. Asked him about that after the race.
Yeah, the truck handled really good. I saw some guys, I was trying to push and they were getting super squirrely and loose out front, but I thought this truck drove great tonight. Definitely had a flat tire in the race as well as in qualifying, so that put us behind. That's why we didn't get out front till later, but I'm super excited for Atlanta.
What was cool about the end of this race is that while it wasn't the two-car tandem, pairs of teammates seem to find each other in the pack. Like I mentioned, Ruggiero was working with Tanner Gray, his Tricon teammate. The two front row teammates especially, Chandler Smith, Lane Riggs, ride or die. They fell to the back together and then worked their way up towards the front together. For a while, the McAnally trucks of Jack Wood and Daniel Hemrick were working together. The other Tricon trucks, William Sawalich and Corey Heim, were paired up. Andres Perez and Raja, two Spire teammates, were together until towards the end. I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was very interesting how pairs of teammates were able to find each other, and especially in the case of front row, they stuck together, come hell or high water. And it almost worked out for the front row teammates. I asked Lane Riggs how much fun it was driving back up through the field after the two had lost their track position.
We had really fast trucks and we worked good together. I feel like I pushed him well, and we had the damage. He just kind of pulled his parachute out, so we had to switch. He had to get behind me to do it. We lost a lot of track position doing that, but man, I swear several times we'd be running last, and 5 laps later we're leading the pack. So it's crazy what we can do together, and crazy how fast these front row trucks are, and great to have Love's Travel Stops on board and everybody here at Daytona. And yeah, it was a great race. Hopefully everybody watched and saw the job that we did.
I didn't have time to talk to him after the race, but I also want to give a shout out to my boy Bailey Curry. Wasn't even supposed to run this race. Funding fell through for their other driver, so they stuck Bailey in the 44 last minute, and he went up there and took the freaking lead, almost on his own, was leading this race in the closing laps. Out there on an island, I mentioned all these pairs of teammates. He didn't have any Nice Motorsports support behind him. It was just Bailey. Put on a show for about a lap and a half before the odds caught up with him and he got shuffled to the back, typical Daytona style. But I want to give Bailey Curry, my guy, a shout out for making that 44 truck look sporty towards the end, being a part of the conversation. Probably the biggest surprise of the night was how quiet most of Spire Motorsports was. 4 trucks in the field. I mentioned Perez, I mentioned Raja. Veterans like Justin Haley and Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell is a Daytona 500 champion. Justin Haley has won multiple Xfinity Series races here. He's also technically a Cup Daytona winner. But they didn't make much noise. Some of that is, McDowell got taken out in a wreck. Raja got taken out in a wreck, not by their own doing. Justin Haley comes home 6th. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a pretty good result, but I expected 3 or 4 of those trucks to line up and just take control, and they never did. The stages were won by ThorSport trucks. Matt Crafton in Stage 2, Ben Rhodes in Stage 1. Both front row trucks still end up with top 15s. Chandler Smith ends up in the top 10. Shout out to Jason White, top 10 for Jason. Frankie Muniz, actor turned race car driver. Malcolm in the middle, 11th place in his full-time Craftsman Truck Series debut. That's right, he's expected to run the full freaking season. 11th place for him. Look at Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill was in the top 5 for a good stretch in this race. I saw you, Timmy. I didn't miss you. Oh my gosh, I just saw it on the tower. He's not pictured here, but no. Is that Norm Bennig with a top 20, 17th place run for Norm? How about that? There you go. There are your top finishers for tonight's Craftsman Truck Series race at Daytona. A new season for the truckers. A lot of interesting storylines. Again, it's a shame Caden Honeycutt spun early. I think he could have been that Nice teammate Bailey Curry needed at the end to make a little more noise. I'm very high on Caden Honeycutt this year. He had some really good runs last season on a part-time schedule. A couple of top 5s at Kansas jumped out at me in particular. I know she finished 29th. I do want to give Tony Breidinger some credit. And I know she spun out on her own, hit the wall. That's not good. That's not great. She is inexperienced. I'm not expecting a ton from her this season. I'm just hoping for steady improvement. I saw some improvement tonight. After that spin and contact early, I was scanning her radio. There was no emotion, no panic by any means. It was very straightforward. Her and her crew chief, the spotter, all communicating, getting the truck fixed, getting back on the lead lap, and actually working their way back up to the edge of the top 10 towards the end of this race. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of eyes on her for sure. Couldn't miss that Raising Cane's truck in the pack. I thought she was very resilient tonight considering her relative lack of experience and how bad things started. When she damaged her truck early on, that could have been game game over. She could have just limped home off the pace the rest of the way, but she didn't. They worked their way back towards the top 10. Wanted to at least mention that. I know a lot of folks will be watching Toni Breidinger and her progression over the course of this season. I think that's going to do it. This was a good race tonight. I enjoyed it. You know, sometimes these Daytona truck races can devolve, crashing, overtime. Yes, we had 2 crashes on the last lap pretty much, but at least we made it to the last lap. We almost made it to the checkered without having to re-rack. This race had a pretty good pace to it. Sometimes these truck races, they're sluggish, they're slow. Second half especially. Good pace, good racing, good action, fun winner. Anyway, that's going to do it. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. It's thanks to y'all I'm able to come to the racetrack like this, get some of those in-person interviews, a little different flavor, something a little spicy here on Out of the Groove. Really appreciate your support. Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. They turned the lights out on me. I was at the very end of my video. I had like 30 seconds left. Goodness gracious. Budget cuts, am I right? I guess this is my cue to leave. Thanks for watching, folks. You'll see me again real soon. I have another video up after the Xfinity race, another one, of course, after the Cup race, the Daytona 500. Real quick, in case you missed my video earlier today, the Daytona 500 now starts at 1:30 Eastern on Sunday, not 2:30. They've moved it up an hour to try and beat some of the rain. PSA for anyone out there who hadn't heard. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm going to go get some sleep because I desperately need it. Talk to y'all later.